Hey, it's Austin from Nouveau Draws, and in today's video we're going to be talking about whether or not artists should still be using Instagram or maybe just putting a little bit less time into it than you are now. So go ahead and grab your cup of coffee and let's talk about it. The short answer is yes. You probably should be using it at least because it's a free resource for artists to kind of get their work out there, but maybe just don't make it your top priority right now. You may have heard the announcement that the CEO made a couple months ago now, I think it was, where he basically said that Instagram is no longer a photo sharing app, or no longer just a photo sharing app, which had a lot of artists freaked out. The truth is that Instagram just isn't the same app that it was 2 or 3 years ago. At the end of the day, their goal is to keep users on the app for as long as possible and squeeze as much money out of the app as possible as well. Right now, video content is king. As much as we like to think that they have a soft spot for us artists, the truth is they just don't. It's all about the money for them. If one day users say they only want to see art on Instagram, they might start coming out with better features for us and start pushing our type of content more. But until that day happens, we're kind of out of luck. And even then, if it does happen, it's still going to be because it's about the money. So it's not like the executives at Instagram have a love of art and they think that that's what we need to see. They look at the data and they see what users are clicking on, what they're watching, what they're staying on, what keeps them on the app longer, and that's what they're going to push out to people. The announcement of these changes really made me kind of take a step back and think about my approach to social media and my own art. There are a lot of things that I want to try and learn and practice. But for example, one of the things that I want to try is maybe animation one day, but I'm never able to really kind of take a step back and learn these new things because I'm constantly trying to feed that algorithm. Another thing I'd like to do is maybe take on like some sort of short comic series or something like that. But again, because I'm always trying to post daily, taking on these longer projects really is difficult, because you feel like if you don't post one day, you're kind of screwed. Even worse than keeping me from taking on new projects is I never really go back to the fundamentals and practice that kind of stuff because one, it usually doesn't appeal to people on Instagram. Some people like to see that, some of the more I guess the actual artists that are trying to learn and might want to learn something from you might get something from that. But then the typical people on Instagram, they just want to see pretty pictures and stuff like that, mostly completed work. So again, because of that kind of stuff hurts my art as well and slows my progress down as an artist, and it's just not good. Even worse than not being able to take on new projects was I never really had the time or felt like I had the time to take a step back and practice the fundamentals, which is something that any artist can benefit from no matter what their skill level is. Everything that I drew or posted on Instagram always felt like it had to be this great, amazing, awesome piece that would get as many likes and shares as possible. And when I thought about all these things, I realized that I was drawing for the algorithm and not myself. Speaking of the algorithm, if you ever really pay attention to your analytics, you might start to see why Instagram really isn't doing you any favors. I think on the last couple of my posts, I reached about 15 new people with hashtags. And hashtags are one of your main ways of kind of reaching new people. So Instagram really hasn't been pushing those. Honestly, hashtags are pretty dead, I would say at this point. Every now and then I'll use one that kind of gets me a little bump in reach, but for the most part, they're very, very low considering I'm almost at like 1,100 followers. And so 15 new people and maybe 1 out of every 100 people that sees your posts are actually gonna maybe follow you. Yeah, it's just not looking good for hashtags right now. Unfortunately, you're pretty reliant on your current followers to, share your posts and that kind of stuff, which I do have a couple of people that do, and thank you to you people because you guys are great. And honestly, I don't know if I'd still be on Instagram if it wasn't for the couple people that actually like engage with my posts. So yeah. Instagram just really isn't doing any favors with the algorithm right now. I don't want to act like Instagram is all bad. There are some good things that come from it. I met a lot of great artists that I wouldn't have met otherwise if I didn't start posting on Instagram, so that's always great. Also, you can get a lot of inspiration from other artists. There's one artist in particular that I think of that's been a huge inspiration to me right now. His name's Kaiserilla. You guys probably have seen his work. He's really big on Instagram, but honestly, he's got a style that I really kind of strive for, and just seeing what other artists are capable of really inspires me to kind of push my own art to the next level. If you are going to put your time into Instagram though, I highly recommend using Reels. I'm sure you've heard this before. Instagram is still pushing Reels more than it pushes regular posts. One good thing that you can try to do is squeeze a lot of content out of one of your posts. So make a regular post and then make a reel of that same drawing. One I did recently was Spider-Man, where the post itself only reached about 300 people, but then I literally made a 1-minute reel. Well, I mean, the reel only took 1 minute to make it, and it got almost 60,000 views. So that, you know, not saying that's going to happen every single time, but I've never gotten that much reach with a regular post, you know, and I've done, I think, almost like 200 of those regular posts so far, and I've only made about 8 or 9 reels, I think. I don't know, it's not a lot, but just saying, Instagram is still pushing reels more to try and compete with TikTok. So if you are going to put a lot of time into Instagram, then try to do it with reels. If you're not sure how to make reels, or you struggle coming up with like original content for reels, then just look and see what other artists are doing on Instagram reels or TikTok, and just see what you can come up with. You know, see if there's some ideas that are easily recreatable that you can try and use to make some of your own reels. The biggest question that you can ask yourself is, what are your goals with art? If you want to get a job with a studio like Riot Games or DreamWorks or any of those other big studios, posting your art on Instagram is great, but if you're expecting some recruiter to come along and be like, hey, I saw your Instagram, you know, really liked your work, would you want a job? You know, it's probably not going to happen. Not saying that it won't, but there's so much competition out there, and it's so hard to discover artists. It's, you know, it's highly unlikely to happen. So what you should be doing is working on building yourself a portfolio. If you want to be a character artist, do character turnarounds. If you want to be a background artist, draw a lot of backgrounds, but build that portfolio that if the opportunity does come, you're not just going to go, here's my Instagram, when they ask for a portfolio of some sort. So definitely try to keep that in mind. If you want to start selling prints, do you already have a store available that people can go to if they did want to purchase one of these prints? And you're not like, oh wait, you know, let me go set up my store real quick and then you can buy them from me. Make sure you have like some sort of Etsy or Redbubble account already open where people can buy your stuff if they wanted to. Even if you only sell 1 print a year, I mean, it's still a better feeling than selling 0 prints in a year. So the stores really don't cost you any money. I think Etsy's like 20 cents, I think it's a month for a listing. So nothing that's gonna like break the bank over the course of a year or something. Another thing to consider though with online stuff is there's a lot of competition. You have a lot of other things, like when, you know, think about when you're shopping on Amazon or something like that, and you're shopping around, you don't know exactly what you want to buy. You see something that looks cool, but then there's 1,000 other things that also look cool, and then, you know, you forget to add it to your wish list and you never come back to it. So don't let that be your art. And so one way to kind of overcome this is to look for opportunities locally in your city. So if you saw one of my recent videos, I started doing an art market recently. I'm fortunate enough to have something like that in my city that I can go to every Saturday. It's been a lot of fun. And the good thing with local stuff like that is you're not at the mercy of any sort of algorithm. You know, there's only a handful of other artists at this particular art market, because it's really a market for all kinds of creators. They got people that make jewelry, there's wood carving, you know, anything. It's not just like art, you know, paintings and stuff like that. And then on top of that, of those few artists, there's only like one other guy I would say that kind of has a similar niche as far as like the kind of stuff that I make. So if people are like fans of like anime or you know, a lot of like I don't know, like pop culture, like movies and that kind of stuff, they really can only get it from like me or him. So you got 2 artists at this art market that can supply what these people are looking for. And it really helps my chances out. You know, if people see my stuff, you know, there's a very good chance that they'll probably end up buying it from me. Just something to think about. Try to look for opportunities in your area locally, and it's a great way to kind of get exposure and get feedback from people, real people. You get genuine feedback, and you know, no one's been mean so far, so you don't really have to worry about that. I highly doubt anybody's gonna be like, hey, you know, don't quit your day job or anything. If they don't like it, they'll just see it and they'll keep walking. So don't worry about that if you're ever stressed about that kind of stuff. It hasn't happened to me so far. I'll report back if it does though. And if your goal is to just get better at art, then you really shouldn't be worried about social media at all, honestly. Just focus on the things to improve, like the fundamentals, like color theory, anatomy, perspective, all these things that are gonna make your art that much better. And don't worry about, putting time into making TikToks or reels or getting the right hashtags and all that kind of stuff, because that it doesn't matter. You're just trying to improve your art, then great. And that's what I mean. Just kind of think about what your goals are. Once you've figured out your goal, try to break that goal into smaller, more achievable goals. So, for example, I want to learn animation. So you can start by practicing 1 to 2 nights a week, and then maybe for a more long-term goal, making one short animation 1 to 2 times within the year. I think it's smart to start with these smaller, more achievable goals, because way too often do people just jump in and say, I'm going to draw every single day, 5 hours a day, until I'm, famous on Instagram or whatever the heck they want to do. And then that all too often does that just lead to burnout. Trust me, I'll be honest, that's kind of how I started when I first started doing like the social media grind. And it's just not a long-term strategy. Maybe you're built for that, where you don't need to eat or sleep or anything like that, and you're just, drawing gives me life. And for a lot of people, yeah, we love to do it, but at the same time, we have family, we have other responsibilities that start stacking up, and it's super important to take care of your mental health. And so, yeah, just try to keep those goals small and achievable, and do not jump out the gate running, full sprint. Unless you're the freaking Kobe Bryant of art, then by all means, I'm not going to tell you what to do. So the whole point of this, though, is to focus less on Instagram and more on the things that you want to achieve. Use Instagram as sort of a tool to kind of get your stuff out there, but don't make it where you're looking up more Instagram tips than you are art tips. That's all I really have for today's video. I just wanted to talk about some stuff I've been thinking about and how I've been kind of switching up my approach to social media. If you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Maybe subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. It helps out the channel a lot, and it helps me out a lot. Also, I just want to give a quick shout out to my patron, Summer W. She's been my day one supporter, one of my only supporters, and yeah, I really appreciate it. If you guys want to support me on Patreon, there's a $1 and a $5 tier. You can get early access to videos like these, and also shout outs in my videos. I can shout out your social media or whatever helps you the most. Yeah, I really appreciate it if you decide to do that. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate all the support. And if you have any suggestions for videos or anything like that, be sure to leave it in the comments, questions, anything like that. I'm always here. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.